Chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga. Purush means person. Uttam means the highest or paramount. So paramount person, Purushottama. Yoga, of course, means the unitive way of thinking, unitive approach. So we have this title, Unitive Approach to the Paramount Person. In the preceding chapters, 14 and 13, the discussion was about the phenomenal, the lower absolute. Brahman, or the absolute, has two aspects, Parabrahman and Aparabrahma. And what we see here with our senses and what we experience is all Aparabrahma. It is the lower absolute. And what is beyond our senses and mind, which is eternal and absolute, that is Param Brahma. That is the higher self. So in the preceding chapters, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga and Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, the discussion was dealing with this Apara Brahma, lower absolute. Here in this chapter, by Purushottama Yoga, this one-sidedness is corrected and the discussion comes back to the absolute or the Parabrahma. We keep reminding ourselves that Gita is a book on Advaita Vedanta. So Advaita means non-duality, and Advaita does not tolerate any sort of dualism, no pluralism. In the Vedas we have pluralism. Pluralism means there are many different gods. There are many different nature forces and there are many deities. But in Vedanta there is only one Supreme. There is no second. There is nothing other than that one Supreme. And from that one Supreme everything has emerged. This is their basic understanding. From one, many elaborations happen. That one has got a power in it, a Shakti in it. And out of that power it creates myriads of varieties of things. Just like from one seed a sprout comes out. Similarly, from this one absolute, this manifold world, this phenomenal world sprouts forth. This is the basic teachings of Vedanta. This is where Vedanta differs from Veda. Well, as in Veda you will say Brahma creates, Vishnu preserves, Maheshwara destroys. So you have a different God for creation, a different God for preservation, and a different God for dissolution. And then there are so many different gods. There is Vayu, there is Agni, there is Indra, and each is a nature force. Vayu is the air, and Agni is fire, and Varuna is the rain. But in Vedanta we don't have any such nature forces. We have only one absolute, one principle, and that one principle takes two forms. One becomes Parabrahma, which is transcendental. The other becomes Apara Brahma, which is this immanent world or what we can experience. So both are actually the two aspects of the same thing. Now here in this chapter, Krishna gives an example from the Upanishads of a Ashwatthama tree. Ashwatthama is a Pipalka Vriksha, and Pipal Vriksha is considered very holy in traditional Hindu culture. All the munis and the rishis used to do tapasya under the pipal tree. It's considered a holy tree. So here we have a holy tree, Ashwatthama Vriksha, in which the roots are above and the branches are below. And also there are roots below. Now this is a symbolic tree. It represents our phenomenal world. Our life here, as we lead it, is represented by this fig tree, this Pipalka Vriksha, Ashwatthama Vriksha. So there is one unexpended, avyayam. It will never be finished. It can never be exhausted, unexpended fig tree with roots above and branches below, whose leaves are sacred verses. So this is a Veda tree. The Vedas are composed of verses, thousands of verses, and that is called a chanda. So the chanda of the Vedas are compared to the leaves of this tree. So it is a holy Veda tree, and he who knows it is a Veda knower, Vedavit. Veda itself means knowledge, and Vit means knower. So he is a knower of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is the Pandit type of knowledge. It's relativistic knowledge. It is not absolute knowledge. When we talk of Vedanta, knowledge of Brahma, that is Brahma Vidya, that is absolute knowledge. A person with Brahma Vidya does not get rebirth. He is released from the cycle of birth and death. But a person who has Vedic knowledge only, that person will have this cycle. He will be able to ascend only to Swarga. Vedas can take you to Swarga. Vedanta takes you to Moksha. So this is the essential differences which should be clear in the mind. At which path is the person treading? The Veda path is the relativistic path, and it takes you to heaven, which is temporary. The Vedanta path is the path of moksha, and that is eternal path. Now, people here on earth, when we live on earth, we always have an idea of heaven above, and the highest of values, we place them above. So the roots are above. So when we say roots are above, it means that we human beings, we derive our culture and our higher values from above. It ties us to things higher up. And that is the roots above. Below and above spread its branches. Now when we talk of branches, we have come into this world of three gunas. This world which is composed of three gunas. And in this three guna world, some branches are going upwards. That is the sattvic guna. Sattvic guna is always raising a person. A person improves. A person becomes a better human being with the sattvic. And below, that is the tamasic tendency. Tamasic tendency brings decline in a person's quality of life. Person becomes lazy, or he becomes stubborn, or he misses the chances. All this happens because of tamas. And sattva keeps a person alert. Good qualities come with sattva. So sattva is the above, higher, raised branch which goes above, and tamas is the branch which goes below, nourished by the modalities of nature. And the branches are nourished by the gunas. Sense values are its buds. What is it that attracts human beings? What is always interesting to human beings? Objects of senses, always attracting a human being. So in this tree, the buds. Bud is always attractive to look at. So the bud is the sense objects, sense values, which are always attracting and interesting people. They give pleasure. Whatever gives pleasure is attractive to people. They are attracted towards pleasure-giving objects. And those are represented here by the buds. And also are ramified roots which bind to action in the world of men. Just like we have one root which binds us to our culture, to our thoughts, to our traditions, similarly there is another root which binds us to the world of action, instinctive binding, self-preservation. We think about our comforts and our security and our well-being. These sort of thoughts come in this world. So that is binding us to the world of action. These are roots below. So there is a root above and a root below. And there are branches going sideways. So this is a picture of how a human being is presented in this phenomenal world. He has sense objects which give him pleasure. He has gunas which take him up or take him down, according to whichever guna is acting on that person. And then there are the obligations that we have to perform in the world of action and also in the world of traditions. So that binds us. Now we have a Diwali festival coming. We are obliged to do so many things. That's a kind of root, a kind of a bondage, because it makes us follow certain patterns and we do certain rituals and we hold certain values high. Whereas somebody from another religion is not going to be affected in the same way as a Hindu person will be affected. So this is how different cultures are holding different groups of people in their grip, making them do certain things simply because they belong to a different culture. And later in the year when Christmas comes, then all the Christians will get excited and then the Hindus will not participate. So this is exactly what is referred to by this idea of roots. Then he says, Na rupam asya iha tatho upalabhyate nanto na cha dirna cha sampratishta ashwatham enam suvirudhamulam asanga shastrena dridena chitva. After giving this description of this phenomenal tree, this Ashwatha Vriksha, he makes two statements. First he says it is very difficult to comprehend this because though we have described it as such, it is difficult to understand its form. Exactly how is this tree functioning in our lives, it's very difficult to understand it, comprehend it, and also to know where its beginning is and where it ends, Antaha and Adi. And also its Sampratishta, where is its foundation, even that is not clear. Then what is the next recommendation? Chitva enam ashwatham asanga shastrena suvirudha moolam asanga shastrena dridena. So this strongly fixed roots, they should be cut asunder by the weapon of decisive non-attachment. Now this is what makes the difference between the relative path of Veda and the absolute path of Vedanta. If a person is walking in the path of Vedanta, it's a higher path. And therefore a person must rise above the relativistic tendencies. He should be able to go beyond the relativistic thinking of the Vedas. And that is done by becoming a Sangha. Means you don't join any club, you don't join any particular group of people. Sangha means a group or a gathering, collection. You don't form any such collection. You go into a certain independence. You establish your own independence. So, asanga shastrena dridena chitva. So, dridam means firm. You have to be very firm, decisive. There should be no doubt in your mind. There should be no vacillation, this or that, doubt, or any kind of hesitation. It should be a very decisive, firm action of cutting asunder. Those who can do it, then they become qualified to walk on this absolute path. Then alone that path is to be sought, treading which they do not return again, thinking, I seek in that primordial man from whom of old streamed forth active relativist manifestations. So it clearly gives you the path of non-return. Gita always says in many places there is a path of return and there is a path of non-return. The path of return is the relativistic path, in which a person has not perfected himself. The person still has desires or has certain imperfections, so he is born again. Whereas in this path there is no return. So he says, Tataha padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyaha. That word nivartanti is important because not coming back. Nivartanti. And this is related to nivriti and nirvana. All these words have similar meanings. Nirvana is that stage of ultimate union when a person has become illumined. And nivriti is the path of negation. You are walking the via negativa of the Upanishads. The Upanishadic path is a nivriti marg. Pravritti marg is the Vedic way. Pravritti marg means you want to progress in the world, you want to accomplish certain things. Nivriti marg is you want to withdraw from the world. You want to leave the world and want to enter into the samadhi or the nirvana. This is a similar indication here when he says nivartanti, does not return again. And thinking, I seek refuge in that adyam purusham, primordial man, right from the beginning, that ancient, that most fundamental and the primordial, in that I shall take refuge. Yataha purani, from whom of old prasrita pravrittihi, from that very foundation or that source from which everything has come. This pravritti has taken place, manifestation has come. Into that invisible aspect of this visible world, I shall again merge. So this world is only a phenomenal effect. It has only temporary existence. Everything here will stay for a while and then it is transformed into something else. But what is the source or the foundation from which this world has come? That is eternal. And that is not visible to us easily. So into that I shall merge again. This is a very difficult and very supreme idea. How do we start? What is the qualification required to walk on this path? Person must have intelligence. He should be an intelligent person. This is not a path for people without intelligence. A person must have sufficient understanding. So he says, Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimuktaha sukha dukkha sangnyair gachanti amudha padam avyayam tat. Amudha. Amudha means one who is not foolish. At least the person must have some intelligence. And then nirmana moha. He should not have this pride, man, in him. He should be able to mix with everybody. He should be able to understand everything clearly, transparently, without having the problem of pride. Pride makes a screen, prevents a person from getting true understanding. And jita sangha dosha. He does not belong to any sangha or any specific group. And adhyatma nitya. He is constant to adhyatma. Adhyatma means that which pertains to his atma, self-knowledge. Vinivritta kamaha. Kama is passion or desire, and desire is always the enemy of the contemplative person. The person who wants to practice yoga, the person who wants to find the peace, the eternal peace, and find the true meaning of life, all these higher values, desire becomes an obstacle. Passion prevents a person from realizing these states of consciousness. So he says, Vinivritta kamaha. You have withdrawn from your desires. Vimuktaha dvandvaihi. And then this is another problem which the phenomenal world creates. Dvandva bhava. Dvandva means duality, opposing, good and bad, hot and cold, success and failure, winning and losing, praise and blame. These two always go hand in hand. No human being will be freed from these pairs of opposites. They are ever present in the phenomenal world. So he says this aspirant for the higher path, he becomes freed from this dvandva bhava, vimuktaha. Sukha dukkha sangnair, known as pleasure and pain. Amudhaha gachanti tat padam avyayam. So this is the absolutist way of life. These are the qualities that are required. These are the attitudes that are necessary for a person to begin walking on this path. And now we come to a description of that path in verse 6. Na tad bhasiyate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. This is very sublime and it is very similar to the Kathopanishad. So it is super phenomenal. It is beyond this phenomenal world. Because na bhasayate suryo. Surya means sun. And bhasayate means to shine or illuminate. There the sun does not illuminate. Neither the moon, neither the fire. These are the three means of natural illumination we have in this world. Before technology came in and brought electric lights, the most primordial source of illumination is the sun. Second most primary source is the moon. And if there is no sun and if there is no moon, then you light a fire and the fire will illuminate like a lantern or a lamp. But this place or this goal that the yogi is looking at, there the sun does not shine, the moon does not shine, neither the fire. So it is beyond the phenomenal world. Yad gatva na nivartante. Same thing, once a person has reached that place, na nivartante, he doesn't come back again. Tad dhama paramam mama. That is my supreme abode. Param dham. So we always say param dham. That is our laksha. Our goal is to reach the param dham. Now we come to the revised notion of reincarnation. After reading this, we will revise our understanding of reincarnation. People think in a very simplified way of reincarnation, that as you think, so you shall become, and whatever I did in my last life, that is going to come and affect me in my life. It has become oversimplified. But here Bhagavan says clearly that it is the Lord who takes the body. Maiva amsho jiva loke jiva bhutaha sanatanaha manaha shashtani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. So there is a pure world of spirit. From that it gathers the materials from the physical world, and that is how life is created. A qualitative unit of mind. Qualitative. It means it is the same in quality. If we take a big fire and if we have a spark, a small fire, in quality they are the same. In quantity, of course, they may be different, but both have the quality of fire. So similarly, the spiritual quality in each individual, though it is so small, it is only a spark, it is the same as the quality of the divine. There is no qualitative difference. So where did this divine quality in human beings come from? Where did the holy religious feelings in human beings come from? It came from the God. It is a bit of the Lord. An amsha. Amsha means a small portion. A small portion of the Lord itself. The eternal principle of God, a small portion of that enters into us and it becomes our life here. And where does it get the material from? Material it gathers from nature. Because we were all one-celled creatures once, and by nourishment, by eating the food produced by the earth, by this bhumi, and by the sun, and by the water, we ate so many things, and with that we have become our present size. So where did we get all these material things from? Here, from the earth, from the phenomenal world, or from the material world. So this subtle life principle, or the eternal principle which comes from the Lord, it takes the material things from the earth, and with that it creates the individual. Shariram yad avapnoti yachapi utkramati Ishvaraha. So Ishvara himself, the Lord, takes a body and the Lord leaves it. That is why we don't have any say in the time when we are born or the time when we die. It is the Lord's wish. The Lord takes a body and the Lord leaves it. He takes these mind and senses and goes, even as the wind gathering scents from their retreats. So here he has given an allegorical way of understanding it, that the flower produces a fragrance which is a very subtle thing, invisible thing, and that fragrance is carried away by the winds. Similarly, the soul in us, which is also a very subtle thing, which cannot be seen or heard or smelt, it is taken. Just like the wind gathers the scent, the Lord also takes the body or takes away the life from a person. So this is a very interesting area. How do we understand that nature, mind, spirit, these three things, how they come together for an individual to be formed, and how at the time of death they all break up again, and how they are reformed again. This is a great mystery and a great source of philosophical inquiry for thousands of years. We understand that on one side there is the eternal principle of the soul, which never dies, which is never born, which is eternal. On the other side we understand that there is a body which has a beginning, it has a birthday and it will have a death day. But how do these two things come together, and how is life produced? That is indeed a great puzzling feature. It is a puzzle. It's a great mystery and worth trying to understand. So these two slokas give us the hints as to how we should try to understand that. It is very much the Lord's hand in this very process. Shrotram chakshus sparshanam cha rasanam ghranam eva cha adhishthaya manaschayam vishayan upasevate. So he presides over the five senses. Shrotram is hearing, chakshu is seeing, sparshanam is touching, rasanam is tasting, ghranam is smelling. So the five senses plus the foundation. These five senses, they bring five different signals. Where is the foundation? That is the man, the mind. It presides over these six functions. And with the help of this, vishayan upasevate. Vishaya means the objects. We enjoy the objects of the senses with the help of this. One avails himself of the values related to the senses. Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha na anupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. So when sattva prevails, sense values occupy the background of consciousness. When rajas magnifies sensuality. In our lives, when rajasic guna comes to the forefront, then what happens? Sensuality becomes important. Sensuality means the sense experience starts becoming prominent. A person becomes interested in having a sense experience. Whereas when sattva predominates, then the senses retreat. They become less important and something more serious occupies the mind. Whether departing, staying or experiencing, conditioned as they are by the modalities of nature. So these modalities of nature, sattva, rajas and tamas, they condition everybody. And the vimudha means those who are not very intelligent. They are carried on by this conditioning of the three gunas. They cannot see, but the wisdomite sees. Jnana chakshu. But those people who have got the jnana chakshu or wisdom eye, chakshu means an eye. So here you are not talking of the physical eye, but you are talking of the eye of jnana, knowledge or wisdom. With the help of wisdom, with the help of real true knowledge, a person is able to see this and understand this. So he sees, whereas the other person, vimudha, the person who does not see this, he gets conditioned by the gunas. And when there is conditioning by the gunas, the person will not be able to see the truth, because according to the gunas, that person's personality will react to the world. So how do we get this insight? This insight is most useful. This insight comes through nirmana moha, by this particular discipline of getting rid of desire, getting rid of pride, getting rid of unnecessary pretensions. Then a person is blessed with this insight. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avasthitam yatanto apya akritatmano nayenam pashyanti achetasaha. Chetasa means again wisdom. So lacking wisdom, a person does not see this. Na pashyati. But the yogis, those who strive, they are established in the self, avasthitam atmani, they are able to see it. Whereas those who don't have that chetasa, those who lack that, they are not able to see. So this gives what is really necessary for a person, the qualifications or the requirements for wisdom. Yad adityagatam tejo jagad bhasayate akhilam yat chandramasi yat chagano tat tejo vidhi mamakam. Now another series of verses are given just to show that the Absolute or the Supreme is in the center of everything. He is the center of the universe and He is the essence of everything. Yad aditya gatam tejo. Aditya means the sun. Tejaha means brilliance. That brilliance which reaches the sun and brightens the whole world. Yat chandramsi, that which is in the moon. Yat cha agno, that which is in fire too. That brilliance know to be of me. So that very essence of the sun is its heat and its light. The very essence of the moon is its light. The very essence of the fire. How do we understand fire? Because it gives heat and because it gives light. That is the very quality of fire. So that very characteristic of the fire, the characteristic of the sun, the very essence of these things itself, he says, it is me, comes from the Lord. Vidhi mamakam. Here the light is not like the physics light, but that very principle of illumination. So these very principles by which all these natural phenomena occur, those laws, those rules of nature, that very principle comes from the Lord. Gam avishya cha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa pushnami cha asadhihi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Permeating the earth, I sustain all elemental existences. This was given at the cosmic level, the celestial level. Now even in the earth, he is sustaining all elemental existences, all the bhutanis, by my vitalizing heat principle. There is a heat principle, ojas, in everybody. That ojas is in all beings, that is also coming from the Lord. And becoming soma, giving the rasa, rasatmika, the sap of the herbs, the taste of the herbs, that essence of the herbs also, of plants, that means. That also comes from Him, the Lord. So these values belong to the lower Absolute. As we said, everything is part of the Absolute. So there is Absolute of the earth too. So there is nothing in this world, nothing in the universe that does not have the principle of divinity in it. Aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham ashrita. Now within a person too, not only in the cosmic, not only in the earthly and elemental, but also within a person, the Vaishvanara Agni, that fire which is digesting our food and making our metabolism take place, giving us the prana. Pranapana samayuktaha pachami annam chaturvidham. So I digest the 4 kinds of food. So there is a physiological function, cosmological derivation. Principle of fire is cosmological. It exists all over the cosmos, but it has a physiological function in us too. Because the same fire principle, heat principle, is responsible for the digestion of the food, in the process of digestion. Sarvasya chaham hridi samnivishto mattaha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Not only that, not only physiological, but also He is in the center of our reasoning too. He is seated in the heart of all. From Him comes memory, smriti and jnanam, wisdom. And apohanam, its negative process. Apohanam is the negative way of wisdom. That is removing doubts, and that is the process of apoha. So that also is coming from the Lord. Chaham vedyah, that which is to be known, sarva vedahi, by all the Vedas, aham eva vedanta krit cha vedavit eva. So we find him in the cosmic realm, we find him in the earthly realm, we find him in our own physiological system, we also find him in our knowledge, in our wisdom, and in our Vedanta itself. The knowledge of Vedanta is also come from the Lord. Dvau imau purushai loke ksharat cha akshara eva cha ksharaha sarvani bhutani kudasto akshara uchyate. There are two persons in this world, the changing and the changeless. Kshara means that which will change, that which will perish. Kshara means perishing. Akshara means that which is changeless. It will never perish. So this Kshara is what is this Bhutanis that we see. All the beings here belong to the Kshara Purusha. One day that will transform, it will change. Every person we see after a few years, they have changed. If they have not changed physically, then they have changed mentally, they have changed in their attitudes. So this is a changing world, always changing. There is a Kshara Purusha. But there is something in us also which is the Akshara, that is indestructible, eternal Akshara. That is unchanging, changeless. So that is the mysteriously fixed, Kudastha. Kudastha means that which is fixed, which is stable, which is steady. That aspect in us which is stable and steady and fixed, that is the Akshara. Kudasto Akshara, that is the Akshara in us, mysteriously fixed. Uttamaha purushastvanyah paramatme iti udahritah yo lokatrayam avishya vibhartya avyaya ishvaraha. The absolute pertains to another order than that of the relative. So this belongs to two separate different orders. When you talk of the absolute, it's a completely different order and a completely different way of life from the relative. What we see here is the relative world, and what is mentioned as the eternal, that is the absolute world. That paramount person, that is the Purushottama, is however another. That belongs to this Supreme Self, the eternal Lord who pervading the three worlds sustains them. So that is the sustaining principle, Purushottama. Now an example is given sometimes of a tree. The tree has been covered by a creeper, and the creeper is blooming with flowers. And now you can't see the tree, you can only see the flowers that have covered the tree, the creeper that has covered the tree, and it is full of flowers. But what is supporting that creeper? What is supporting that flowers? That is a tree underneath. But you can't see that tree, but that is what is supporting it all. So similarly, the Absolute is supporting everything, supporting the cosmic world, supporting this terrestrial world, it is supporting our own beings, but it cannot be seen. It is covered by this phenomenal world which we see. Therefore, by seeing the phenomenal world, we cannot see the spiritual realm. If you want to see the spiritual, you must go into your own heart, into your own consciousness. There you will discover the spiritual self, the eternal Lord. Yasmat ksharam atito aham aksharad api chottamaha ato asmi loke vedeche pratitah purushottamaha. As we said, this is a Vedanta text, so it will not allow dualism. So though it says there is a Kshara Purusha and Akshara Purusha, he says beyond this there is a changeless Purusha, because I transcend the changing and even superior to the changeless. Therefore I am celebrated in the world and in the Veda as the Purushottama. So this is the essence of the Vedic teachings, the Vedantic teachings, is that Supreme Self, which is beyond the changing, beyond the changeless, that's supreme. This is 19. Yo mam evam asammudho janati purushottamaha sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Both subjective and objective aspects of the Absolute are comprehended here. He who undeluded, asammudha. This mudha comes very often in this chapter. That means one who has no delusion, one who is intelligent, one who has no confusion. Such a person knows me, the paramount person, Purushottama. He, the all-knower, adores me in all aspects, O Bharata. Bhajati mam sarva bhavena. So such a person is seeing the Absolute under all circumstances. In everything, a person is able to see the same self. The same Absolute is operating in every situation. So he rejoices and he adores. In everything he sees, he is adoring that changeless self. And that is what happens to the mystics. If it is a Ramakrishna Paramhansa, a Narayana Guru or a Ramana Maharishi, in every situation and in everything they are seeing only the Absolute. They are seeing the Purushottam. Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanagha etad buddhva buddhiman kritakrityascha bharata. By understanding this chapter, there is no need anymore either to follow the injunctions of the Vedas or to tax one's brain any further by philosophical inquiries. So Veda is full of do this and don't do this. You must do this and you must not do that. That is the Vedic injunctions, kriyas, and vidhi nishedhas. Vidhis, you must do everything in a particular way. And nishedhas, you should not follow certain practices. So this do's and don'ts. The person becomes released from those do's and don'ts when you understand this Purushottama. And also there is no more need to unnecessarily make philosophical enquiries because the person understands now, he knows. Iti guhyatamam shastram. So this guhyam means a secret. Shastra is a doctrine or teachings, has been taught by me. So Krishna says that this has been told to you. Understanding this, buddhva etam syad buddhiman. You become a buddhiman, you become a wise person. And with the buddhiman, with your wisdom, krita krityaha. All the krita, all the works are done. You don't have to do any more works, O Bharata. You are released from all obligatory works. You gain transcendence, or you gain a certain amount of freedom. And that is what everybody is craving for. Everybody is looking for the same thing. Everybody wants to have that experience, but everybody is dragged back again and again into the world of actions because of ignorance, because of obligations, because of lack of knowledge. So it is through this understanding that a person is released from that obligatory world and is able to live a better life of absolutism, absolutist life, seeing the Lord in everything, seeing the same value in everything. So this is the very supreme teaching, Purushottama Yoga, that this chapter ends with. It is one of the most beautiful chapters of the Gita. And with this, the higher teachings come to an end. After this chapter, the discussion deals with issues dealing with our world here, like Deva Suri Sampatti Vibhaga Yoga, Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga, and Sannyasa Yoga, at the end of which the Gita enters once again into the Mahabharata, and the story of the Mahabharata continues. So here with these doctrines, Sri Krishna brings the philosophical teachings or mystical teachings to an end. This chapter of just 20 verses, there is no interruption by Arjuna anywhere. Arjuna does not ask a question or raise any doubt. He is just sitting quietly and listening to every word. So that itself shows that this chapter is to be pondered over. It has to be meditated over. Some effort must be made to understand it. At least the basic principle should be clear. The principle of the Purushottama and the Kshara Purusha, the Akshara Purusha, and the Vedic way and the Vedantic way and the absolutist thinking and the relativistic thinking and the path of return and the path of no return. So these are the fundamental teachings of the Gita as a whole, and they have been put into this chapter. So for those who can understand it and those who gain this understanding, they attain liberation.